Total happy accident, Steve. For me, I originally went to school for broadcast journalism. I ran a sports blog, so I knew I loved sports and I knew I wanted to talk about basketball for my life. Working with a college team for the first time was such an important experience for me because I don't think the media really has any idea what actually goes into making a team successful. It's so much more than talent, and it's all that nitty-gritty nuts and bolts stuff every day that really got me going. I got so lucky when I was at Buffalo to be with an extremely family-oriented coaching staff led by Reggie Witherspoon, who was just an amazing mentor to have at that time. And that kind of got my gears turning. When I was there, though, I was there to be an educational administrator. So I wanted to at least explore that road professionally when I got into, before I got into coaching. And I got hired by Union to be an administrator. And then a year later, I started volunteering with the women's basketball team after meeting some of the players and meeting Mary Ellen. And that's when I met my my biggest mentor was Mary Ellen. And if you had told me that 9 years after volunteering with a women's basketball team that I would be running a sideline, I would have laughed in your face. So that is, it's been an unbelievable adventure, but yeah, I love the nuts and bolts of it. I love teaching leadership, and that's really what I saw myself doing. And I think my best vehicle for doing it, Steve, is through the game of basketball. So I think it's actually a really good comparison to what our college athletes are going through themselves. We are encouraging our athletes to take risks and make mistakes in a safe environment. And I have been afforded an environment that most coaches will not have at any point in their careers. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. Mary Ellen has done everything that there is to do in this profession. Pretty sure she's the winningest coach in the history of the school. And she has been very invested in grooming me. So she has given me the recruiting coordinator tag. She's allowed me to kind of be in charge of that recruiting process. And, coaches like control. It's not easy to be like you. You've earned my trust, so you're going to call the plays. I don't know, frankly, if I would have had the ability to do that. So I think that if I were to explain it to a player, Mary Ellen jokingly says to a lot of recruits, like, I'm on the back nine now, and I really want to teach Jared how to do this. And what I tell recruits and players is, I'm trying to learn, and I'm learning and growing at the same time that you're learning and growing, but I'm taking this very seriously. And that's been a really cool opportunity. I exclusively knew about Union College because they played Quinnipiac in hockey. That was my exclusive knowledge of Union College. When I was working at Buffalo, we had a student assistant that would work in my conduct office, in the Office of Judicial Affairs, when she was home for trimester break. And I would joke around with her. I was like, how are you in college when you're home this much? And she tried to explain the trimesters to me because she had this huge break in the winter. So she basically was there just as often as the actual Buffalo students on break. And as fate would have it, we get to March of 2011, and Union has an opening for residence director. And this student that worked in the judicial office was a head RA at Union. And she was like, you have to apply for this job. You have to apply for this job. You have to apply for this job. So my ticket to Union was Ariella Walfred, and that's so funny that it, kind of turned out like that. But she basically set me up so that another head RA gave me a tour of campus when I first visited, Steve. And from the moment I visited campus, I remember calling my parents when I left the campus and being like, I'm going to nail this, and this is where I'm going to work. I was so taken aback by the energy of the students, how beautiful the campus is, how much pride people take in the campus, but also, as you now know and working here for a little while, it's in the water here. The people drive this campus, and the people are great. And I just got that impression immediately. It took me literally one campus tour to realize what the students have access to on this campus is incredible. And I know this is kind of a convoluted way of answering it, Steve, but if you look behind me, you'll see a lot of music equipment. And what I will tell you is there's a lot more to me than just being a basketball coach. And there is so much more to these students on our campus than just being students. And on our team, there's so much more to them than just being athletes. Our arguably best player, Amber Reisner, is also one of the best students on campus and the president of the Pottery Club. Laura Vinton does all sorts of service work and volunteer work. Karina Lindsay does all sorts of service work and volunteer work. Ira Lee's in the honors program and does neuroscience research. This campus is full of people like that are really making the most of their experience. Like, this is not a place where people just hide in their dorm rooms and play Xbox like I did when I was in college. I think there's two. Recency bias steers me to Ellie. So I'll start with that one, and I'll share a little known story. I am very in touch with the fact that I'm learning as a coach, and one of the things that I'm trying to get better at is adjusting to game flow. But I have plans, and I really like sticking to my plans wherever possible. And my plan was to not play Ellie down the stretch of that game, and we called the timeout. And I actually tried to sub offense for defense, and I tried to put Megan Lee in for Ellie. And Megan walked up to the table, and Ellie put her hand on my knee and said, "I can defend. Give me an opportunity to score. Give me an opportunity to stay in this game." And I looked at Megan, and I said to Megan out loud, "When a player talks to me like this, I'm inclined to go for it." And I left Ellie in the game. She immediately makes 2 free throws, and then, hits the buzzer beater bank shot 3. And it's funny because I hugged her at the end and I was like, "I'm so proud of you for doing that." But there were so many other things that she did aside from the buzzer beater. I mean, she held an All-American single-digit scoring in that game. Ellie's one of the best defenders we've ever had. But just that moment in general, I'm really proud of it because I grew and just put my trust in a player. I'm really happy Ellie didn't have to, walk that back. But she did great. The team fought hard. We held a team that scores in the mid-70s to 43 or 44 points. It was just such a great game, and I'm so proud of that moment. I would say the other one is a bit more abstract, which is we were a team that could go either way in 2014, 2015, led by one of my favorite captains ever, Kate Thompson and Megan Erdman. Kate was amazing. We were down 17 to RIT at halftime, came back and won that game, and then rifled off 8 straight to propel ourselves from out of the Liberty League playoff hunt to tied for second place in the league. That was just such a fun ride to be on. So weirdly, Steve, it's actually the same phrase that guided me when I was an administrator. There's a quote from John Dewey: "Observation alone is not enough. We have to understand the significance of what we see, hear, and touch." And to me, that is, in layman's terms, a way of saying there's more to basketball than basketball. And what we try to do is we try to make meaning of every experience. We try to give our players a lot more ownership. And my goal is to provide players with an opportunity to grow, to learn as leaders, and to really, really learn as individuals. And I think my biggest thing that probably differentiates, and I know Coach Murphy's very big on this too, differentiates us is we really believe that if we do all the little cultural things, the wins will take care of themselves. We put a lot of stock in our veteran leaders. We put a lot of stock in the growth process. And, it's easy to sit here and be like, we want to play fast and we want to be lockdown defenders. You can watch us. For us, it's the behind the scenes stuff, really working on our culture. Whether I want it to be or not, I think the first word would be loud. I think players would describe me as energetic. And I think that the players would describe me as positive. I know sometimes I actually frustrate our players for being so process oriented. Like, they're oftentimes more mad at their own performances than I am. But I'm really just trying to be positivity forward and energy forward. And I think the volume and the energy would probably be the words most associated with me. I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear this. But I would say that this team has grown more during this pandemic than we have at any other time. And I think the big question that you sort of alluded to, Steve, becomes, we're a basketball team that can't play. We're a basketball team that can't play games. How do we make this experience meaningful? And I am so proud of our team and extremely proud of our team leadership, our captains, Irely and Karina, for what they have done to try to make a meaningful experience, whether that is coming up with a mission and a vision for what our year will look like, even in the absence of games, and trying to stick to that, our continued leadership development off the court, charting literally everything in practice and just setting a goal of, hey, don't worry about what's far ahead because we don't know when that's coming. Let's just be better every day. And I know that that's really helped the coaching staff completely. I'll let you in on one small thing you may not know about, Steve. Once a week through October, our players were actually running practice. We were giving our players a leadership opportunity to be like, okay, you know, you won't have the opportunity to find your voice in a game right now, so you're going to find it in practice. And it's been such an awesome experience. Too many individual moments to share right now because I don't want to take an hour, but I will say I cannot believe how proud I am of this team for being able to adjust to this year and just try to grow differently. And I really think we're going to carry that with us to the next time we play games. The first comment I made to Mary Ellen when we went through our first week of the phasing practices was, we're going to do this every year. It's amazing how much we can skip the fundamentals just because, you know, it's like looking at the menu at the Cheesecake Factory. There's so much choice about what you could do. All of a sudden it's stripped down for you and you remember how much players respond to the fundamentals. It's been such an awesome adventure. I think the current composition of this team has the potential to be really, really special. This is something that Mary Ellen and I talk about a lot. Last year, it was just, we were young. We had amazing structure and leadership at the top. Joe, Ellie, Mac, and Colby did an amazing job, but it didn't change the fact that there were 11 underclassmen on the team. This year, you can already see that they don't want to make the same mistakes twice. And not because of anything we're doing as coaches, but just because there's a lot of pride and ownership in the locker room. I think that if you're the type of prospective student that wants to be around a group that wants to have fun, that wants to be positive, but also really wants to put in the work to, you know, push to their greatest potential, I think this is a good time to jump on board this squad. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds for this team.